So today, we're going to dive into a really reflective gospel poem by Denis Martindale. And it gets into something I think we've all felt at some point, that feeling that the good, easy days are starting to become a little more rare. It's a journey, really, from that carefree feeling of youth to the tough parts of being an adult, and it asks some pretty big questions along the way. And the poem, it just jumps right in with this question, a question that, let's be honest, has probably crossed our minds more than once. It really taps into that quiet fear that maybe the best times are behind us. And that immediately sets the tone for this very personal, very reflective journey we're about to go on. All right, so to really dig into that question, the poem starts by pulling us way back in time, to remember what those good days actually felt like. It kicks off with this really powerful, almost dreamlike memory of being a kid. A time that, when we look back, just seems so much simpler, doesn't it? And just listen to the imagery there. Mists of time, pristine snow. The poet is painting this picture of a perfect, untouched past. So you see, this isn't just a memory of something that happened. It's more like an ideal. This vision of pure, simple joy that just felt so complete, you know? And boom, right here, the poem just lays its central conflict right out on the table. Over on the left, you've got that childhood world, pristine snow. Simple, easy fun. But on the right, the tough realities of adulthood just come crashing in. The joy gets replaced by hard work, money worries, and even heartbreak. This really stark contrast is what drives the whole poem forward. Okay, so after painting this beautiful picture of the past, the poem takes a really sharp turn, right into the present day. Now life's burdens start to pile up, and we begin to feel the full weight of what it means to be an adult. And it's not just one thing, right? The poem just unleashes this whole avalanche of problems. You've got money troubles, loneliness, getting sick, your body starting to feel its age, even things like Christmas losing their magic. You can almost feel these things stacking one on top of the other, creating this real sense of just being overwhelmed. And you can feel how all of this just builds up to this one absolutely heartbreaking question. This is really the lowest point in the poem. After going through that whole list of hardships, the narrator just asks this question that feels impossible to answer. It's a cry of doubt, wondering if real, lasting happiness is even possible with so much suffering in the world. But you know, right when it feels like we've hit rock bottom, the poem does something really interesting. It pivots. It stops just questioning all the suffering and starts to offer a spiritual reason for why it's happening. And this is where the gospel heart of the poem really comes through. So we get another really powerful question here, but this time it's different. It's not coming from a place of despair. It's more about looking inward. The narrator starts to wonder, hey, maybe being bent down and humbled by all these challenges, maybe that's the whole point. Maybe that's part of your destiny. So then the poem basically lays out its whole argument, and it's like a step-by-step path. It says, hardship, well, that leads to humility, and that sense of humility makes you open to looking for something bigger than yourself. That search then leads you to faith, which the poem presents as the ultimate salvation. So in the poet's view, suffering isn't just random. It actually has a purpose. It's the road that can lead to grace. And here's a really fascinating little detail from the source material. When the poem uses the phrase King of Kings, it's not just a religious title. The poet is also deliberately nodding to those classic epic movies about the life of Jesus. It's a clever move because it mixes this deep spiritual idea with a cultural touchstone that a lot of people would get, blending faith with a kind of shared memory from the movies. All right, so after taking us through memory and hardship and then faith, the poem lands on its final big message. It's a clear, direct call to action for anyone who's ever felt like those good days are getting harder to find. And here it is, that powerful final stanza. The whole tone just shifts, right? It's not about looking back anymore. It's a direct message to us. The advice isn't about trying to get the good old days back. It's about having the strength to get through the tough ones. It frames perseverance as this almost holy act, with the promise of a reward waiting at the end of it all. So, what's the big takeaway here? Well, the poem is basically arguing that the true measure of a life isn't about counting up all the happy moments. Nope. Instead, it's about the strength and the faith you show when things inevitably get hard. And that really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? The poem gives us one answer, a spiritual one, that hardship is there to humble us, to lead us toward faith, But it also invites us to look at our own lives and ask, whatever our beliefs are, what purpose, what meaning can we find in the struggles we all face?